Okay, so let's get started on the enema preparation, the coffee enema preparation. You have two options for this. One, you can boil it in the pot. This is my preferred method because I feel like it's stronger and it's a more effective coffee enema. You could also use something like this and you can press the coffee. This is a really quick, easy solution for people who just want to quickly get it done in the morning. You only have to put the coffee in and let it steep for like 6 minutes and you're good to go. This is wonderful, but I really prefer to boil the coffee the night before and I leave it on the stove and overnight it cools down, and in the morning I can just heat it up slightly to room temperature and use it. So it's up to you which one you want to use. I'm going to demo the pot today because I feel like it's the better option. What you want to do is take the coffee and you want to make sure you're using an organic coffee. It's going into your body and it's important that you really use a good quality coffee. We sell a coffee specific for coffee enemas at the clinic, so feel free to get this on our website or do some research and find a really good quality coffee in your area. So you add 3 to 4 tablespoons of the ground coffee to a pot of water. How do you know how much water to use? Well, the easiest solution is just to fill the enema bucket up once and pour it in, and then add a little bit for evaporation. In the end, you want to fill the bucket up with coffee. So if you're boiling it and simmering it, you're going to lose a little bit, so just add that extra. And then you'll have full enema buckets worth. So 3 to 4 tablespoons of coffee, purified water. And now if you ask me, is a Brita good enough? Well, a Brita is better than nothing, but it's not ideal. So just try to make sure you have a really good filtered form of water. And if you want, you can also go to the store and get distilled water, which would be awesome for the coffee enema. So you have the water and the coffee. Now add a tablespoon of real salt to the coffee, real salt, Himalayan sea salt, something that's not refined. You want to add that to the coffee because it's going to help you hold the coffee longer, which we'll get to in a minute. And it also opens your bile ducts so you can release more toxins in the process. So I have the coffee, the water, and the salt in the pot and I bring it to a boil. You want to allow it to boil for about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes is fine, and then simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. At that time, you can turn the stove off, put the lid on, and just let it sit there. Overnight, it will soak, it'll get stronger, and in the morning, heat it up slightly. When I say heat it up, you only want it to get to room temperature, so like a baby's bottle. You don't want it to be too hot because that won't be good for your intestines, and you don't want it to be too cold because you'll be uncomfortable, and first thing in the morning, you don't want to be freezing cold. So once the coffee is at room temperature, you're going to add it to your enema bucket. And again, if doing an enema is totally something where you're like, what? Then start by watching the water enema video. I go through this process in more detail. But you're attaching the hose there, you're making sure this valve is pinched tight so you don't end up with coffee all over the floor. Anything you put in the bucket is going to flow through the tube, and most people forget to close that valve. Don't do that. You'll end up with a mess all over the floor first thing in the morning. Not fun. Attach the hose to the bucket too, that helps. So this is all ready to go, and now I'm going to pretend like I have coffee in here. You're going to pour the coffee into the bucket all the way to the top. If it's not quite the top, that's fine. You will have grinds in the pot, so your options are to either pour it out to the point where you're like, okay, the grinds are going to start, and then stop pouring because you don't want the grinds to get in the bucket and look like the tube. Or you can use a metal mesh strainer. Do not use a coffee filter. Do not use a cotton cloth to filter it. You don't want to do that. Metal mesh. There's properties in the cotton that take out some of the properties we want in the coffee. So make sure it's a metal mesh strainer, or just use your eyes to stop before the grinds go in. Okay? So you have coffee in the bucket now. You're going to bring this over to your bathroom. You're going to hold the tube over the sink and open up the valve so the coffee runs through. This helps you do two things. First, it gets the air out of the line, and second, it shows you that you didn't get any grinds in the bucket that are going to stop that flow of water. So you're good to go. You pinch the tube again. There'll be a bit of air at the end. That's totally fine. And then you're going to take coconut oil. I have coconut oil in this jar. Take it, lubricate the end of this, and then you're going to lay a towel down on the floor, maybe a pillow for your head, make it comfortable for yourself. and lie on your left side. I prefer the left because I'm right-handed. You're welcome to move on the right. It really doesn't matter. You're getting that same benefit either way. So you're on your left side, let's say. You're inserting this into the rectum just past the second hole here. You can put it in further if you want. It's not going to hurt you. You just don't have to put it in that far. Once it's in, you can let it go. It's going to stay. And then you can open up the valve. At that point, the coffee is going to start flowing in. Keep in mind, the higher you place the bucket, and I prefer to place the bucket a little higher on the counter beside my sink. The higher you place it, the faster the liquid's going to flow in. So if you don't want it to flow in that fast, maybe place it on your your bathtub ledge. Or if it's higher, you can simply play with the tubing. You can pinch it to slow it down, or you can play with the valve and you can pinch this to slow it down. Maybe halfway open and it'll slow down the flow. Anyways, the ideal circumstance is a whole bucket of water is going to flow in. At that point, you fully close this tube, you slowly remove this, and you can just let it fall. You're going to clean it afterwards. And then turn onto your back and just relax. It is ideal if you can hold the coffee for between 12 to 15 minutes because all the detoxification potential is happening during that time. After the 15 minutes, and maybe you want to set a timer, at that time you're going to sit on the toilet, you're going to release whatever needs to come. You can raise your arms above your head, do some twists, do some massages, get to know your body again. And then when you're done, clean the bucket out with hot soap and water, run the soap through the tube, pay special attention to clean the end here with hot soap and water and maybe the valve because you touched it, and then let it air dry underneath your sink or on the counter, whatever you're comfortable with until next time. So that's an ideal circumstance. Keep in mind that as you're on the floor, on the ground, lying comfortably on your towel pillow situation, if the coffee's flowing in and you start to feel it cramping, it's okay. Just stop the flow of water and breathe because it could just be gas that the liquid needs to pass through. If it doesn't stop, then stop the flow completely, remove the tube, sit on the toilet, release whatever needs to come, and then you can clean off the end of the tube, re-lubricate it, and finish the coffee off if you want. Usually you can hold it longer that second time, so if you need to do that, that's fine. Some people also prefer to do a water enema first and then the coffee right after. The water really removes anything that might be sitting in your sigmoid colon, and the coffee's more for the detoxification potential, not so much about the constipation reliefs. So, that is a coffee enema. If you have any questions, please place them in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer your questions, and happy cleansing. Bye.